I'm Grant McCaig and I'm a silversmith. So I trained at Glasgow School of Art, so I trained in a very sort of traditional way. But recently I was fortunate enough to be able to get a place at the Royal College of Art. I like the idea of being able to use the skills that I've acquired to use my sort of craft as a way of investigating things that I'm interested in. So I used to be quite interested in things that had a function, like they were from the domestic landscape, but now I'm more inclined to explore objects that record a sense of place, something about history, maybe about time, kind of things that are ephemeral or transient. I got introduced to the work of a metal smith in Germany, and he had done two really interesting projects. One project was called Native Copper, and the other project was called How the New Comes into the World. So I was really interested in the genesis of an idea from concept to finished object. And when I saw these two projects of this metalsmith, it kind of just struck a chord with me, and immediately contacted him. And I went out to visit him. And we travelled into this mine a mile under the Alps, and we looked at where metal is ored from the mountain. So it was a copper mine, and to me that's the first time, even though I've spent almost 20 years working with metal, that's the first time I've actually been to where the source of the material. And so this idea of where the source of the material comes from is really important to me. It's a way of investigating whether having that kind of knowledge impacts on the final object that you produce. I think you realise that with working with silver, to a certain extent, affects how you think about the material. You know, as well as your own experience of the material, it has a huge history behind it, which you have to take on board. When you realise that the characteristics of the metal are becoming the work, you sort of think, okay, well, that's what silver's given me. What if I try in this material? How will that transfer? And I think I just found mild steel because I was just interested. First of all, I was interested when I went to Colombia. I started working with bronze, casting in bronze, and then when I got sand casting in bronze. When I got them back, I thought they would look amazing in iron, and I immediately became the impossibility of iron. Seemed, how do you work in iron? It just seemed this kind of, and I liked the idea of that thing being untouchable. Like, how do you work iron? It seems, you know, I know how to work a bit of silver. I could make that in silver, but how would you do it in iron? And that kind of intrigued me. And that was the question mark that hung over all these materials, like mild steel and zinc and iron. They seemed kind of untouchable. And I was intrigued to sort of, could I work with them in such a way and bring them back into the domestic landscape? So that's kind of what I'm interested in. I never really have a strategy. I have a few. It's like I have a palette of colours that I can use, but in which order it's never the same. I might start somewhere, you know, at the end, and then work my way back to the beginning, or take something, and it's always sort of. I think the word is peripatetic. It's a sort of strange, transient existence. I'm always more impressed by the very small things, the insignificant details, which in the bigger picture you just completely gloss over, you whitewash over the top of them. Whereas if you actually get started with the material and actually don't think so much about where you're going to, but think about just how you're getting there, and how does the hammer feel, and if you pick up on small, there's always little things that you can pick up on. And I think that's how I want my work to develop at the moment.